Okay, time is 6:01, and for those of you who have just joined us after closed session, I'm Jeff Conwell, Board President. I'd like to introduce my fellow trustees, Maria Haug, Lisa Pelosi, Jeannie Kerr, and Julio Ogin. Also joining us this evening is our student, oh, no, it's not. Sammy, where are you? We're missing you. I'd like to introduce our excellent district staff, Superintendent, Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, Chief Business Official, Ms. Andy Stubbs, Chief Academic and Human Resources Officer, Mr. Christopher Heller, Executive Assistant to the Chief Academic Human Resources Officer, Ms. Melissa Hansen, and also tonight, Horacio Mendez joining us from the info side, or the tech side, so thank you. We're delighted you're here this evening in person or viewing television channel 27 on your new YouTube. A copy of the board meeting video will be available on our website at www. Oh, Sammy, there you are. See, I told you she was coming. All right. You've already been introduced. In connection with items A, B, and C, the board has received information and provided direction to staff. At this point, please stand and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this brings us to item number 6A, which is public comment on open session items. This is public comment on any item that is not on the agenda today. Does anybody wish to speak? Please, 3 minutes or less, please.
Thanks. Speak really, really quickly. It won't take that long. Hi, my name is Lisa Goldfarb. I'm a parent in the district, and I'm here to just convey some positive information. It's always nice to hear something good, right?
Whoa.
You're welcome in advance.
Anytime. Come on back.
Yeah, right? Anytime.
You get 5 minutes.
No, my friend Misha Kalini, who couldn't be here tonight, asked me to read this letter to you on her behalf. So, as a mother of a 9th grade student, I wanted to take a moment and express what an asset Elle Harrington has been to my son's English education. She is a lifesaver. Not only did she step in at a crucial and tumultuous time in our 9th graders class, she turned the curriculum into something fun and cohesive. I applaud her for coming into a pretty much defunct English class and inspiring the kids with a sometimes confusing and difficult to read Romeo and Juliet. My son, Miles Harvey, had an aha moment almost the minute Elle walked into the classroom. Now this makes sense, he said, as she helped him translate Shakespeare into terms he could understand and actually enjoy. I hope the district is considering keeping her on in a full-time position. She is such an amazing fit for our school. How lucky is this district that she is even available? Thank you, Misha Kalini.
Oh, very nice.
I just wanted to thank you all on her behalf.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
So, those of you who just joined us, we are on. Is there anybody else who wishes public comment on agenda items, not on agenda items tonight? Okay. We're on to item number 7, presentation on the St. Helena Unified School District Green Initiative. Mary Lou, would you like to introduce?
I would. Board members, you'll recall a number of years ago, our student board representative brought forward a resolution from the California School Board Association conference on our district being more green. And part of that resolution requires that on a every other year time period, the student board representative presents the board with a report. And so it is Sammy's opportunity this evening to give you a report about what's happening within our district at each of our school sites. So, Sammy, we're very excited to hear what you have to say, and happy to know that I think your parents are in the audience as well.
Yes, they are. Okay. So as Dr. Wilson stated, I'm just going to be reporting on the progress that the school sites have all made towards the Green Initiative. How does this work? Is it this? Okay, so just a little presentation overview. These are the topics that I'm going to be covering. I have a slide and some pictures for every school site, and then questions for the end. So some background on the initiative itself. It was started in 2015 by Christian Maldonado and Isabel Smith, who was the ASB president at the time. And it was started in order to implement programs in the school environment to help conserve our environment and be more earth conscious. And the goal was for the students to learn these methods and carry them on through their everyday life, both in school and at home. So programs were started at each school site, and the students were in charge of carrying them out and showing the other students as well. So yeah, it was just to show students that they can make small changes in their daily life that would ultimately result in helping the planet. So at the primary school, I'm just going to skip to the pictures because I think people would rather look at pictures than some text. So the students have been working on learning the difference between what should be recycled versus thrown in the trash and thrown in the compost bin as well. So to help them learn, there are bins that are clearly labeled in their classrooms and in the barn for lunchtime. And they have words and pictures to help them kind of learn how to recognize what goes where. And also there is this program called the Green Team, where there is a group of second graders that help during lunchtime to show the students where things go so that it's their peers talking to them instead of like a teacher and administrator. And then they also teach the first graders that are coming up how to be a part of the Green Team so that the program keeps going year through year. Then for the elementary school, the garden committee is starting up just in time for spring. So the students have been working really hard to expand and prepare the garden beds for planting that's going to be coming up very soon, or has been happening recently. They're harvesting tomatoes and just tending to the gardens. And they also have built a new garden shed with the custodian, and they're super proud of that. They get to keep all their tools and stuff in there, which is really fun for them. And then they also have been working on labeling their bins as well, just to kind of like keep that trend going so that they can recognize what goes where. And then they also started a campus cleanup club in order to help keep the school campus tidy and do small projects around so that they can really feel pride in where they're going to school. Then at the RLS, Ms. Helwig helped the school purchase some new cans, recycling bins that have been placed all over campus in the quad, and it is mixed recycling, so they can be throwing away more items than used to be, which is really nice. And they also put new bins in the classrooms that have been clearly labeled, which helps encourage the students to recycle and just makes it much more efficient. And they also, at the RLS, they have a water filling station so that students can bring reusable water bottles from home, and that saves thousands of bottles each year. So then for the high school, in leadership, we've created new subcommittees, which are just smaller committees. I've reported on them before. And one of them is the Green Committee, which is in charge of carrying on the Green Initiative through the high school. So we actually have the commissioner of the Green Committee here, Holland Smith. Do you want to? There's a podium for you. So he's going to tell you a little bit about their club and their projects that they've been working on.
This one? 30 on. Okay. So currently we're working on bin location and efficiency. So right now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a lot of trash bins and not very many recycling bins, and they're not located very well. So we're trying to create like a universal map on where each bin will go, making sure that they're all associated with like one recycling bin and one trash bin, because we've noticed that high schoolers, if there's whatever bin's closest to them, they'll just throw it away to that. And then we're also working on it within the classrooms too, because there's a huge inequity of trash bins to recycling bins. We did a poll and there was like 80 trash bins and like 30 recycling bins total. So we're trying to make it more uniform. So we're working on like color coordinating them, different locations, just different things to try to get classrooms to get better overall bin usage. And then those posters right there, that's a project that I worked on first semester, and that is because we have new poster machines, so the goal is to print those out, laminate them, and then get permanent marker that can be erased using spray, so that the athletics committee can put those up instead of constantly using more butcher paper. So those are like our two main projects right now, but as the committee continues, we'll keep finding new projects to work on.
Thanks, Holland. So starting that subcommittee, that's going to be something that is more permanent in leadership. So this year, Holland, he's actually Isabel's younger brother, and so he felt that it was a good time for him to step up and start this new committee again to kind of reinstate the Green Initiative in the high school, because we haven't seen as much work on it in more recent years. And there's also a new environmental awareness club on campus that was started purely by students, so it shows that our students want to become involved and want to help our environment. So going forward, the site initiatives will continue within the small programs that each school has started. Increased awareness of positive results from the small projects will encourage more people to want to participate and take it home and show their parents, and just we're hoping that the kids get really excited about these new changes that they're seeing and seeing results from them as well. And then obviously ongoing student board representative reports will help to show you guys all the work that the students have been putting in. Any questions from anyone? Or feedback? Any?
No, I think that's awesome, and I think at the high school we probably can come up with some funding to make sure we have bins, whatever needs to happen for recycling bins.
That would be very helpful.
Send it somehow our way, and then we'll send it somewhere, and then I think for sure it'll happen.
So I just want to say thank you to all of the students. Yeah, I mean, and when it's student initiated, it's even better because everyone's interested. So I would like to give a round of applause to all of our students.
Thank you, Holland, for coming in.
And when we do have students report to us, we do like to shake their hands. So Sammy and Holland, if you would come through the dais, we'd love to shake your hands and say thank you. And Mr. Heller may have a gift for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What you're doing.
That was good. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, that's right. Nice to see you again. Okay, it's really not fair, 7B, Chief Foley, to have to follow and act like that, but you're on the agenda as 7B, so that's what happens sometimes. So thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate
Thank you. I think it was set up.
As I said, sometimes it just happens that way.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to introduce our new school resource officer, SRO. As you're probably aware, we received a 2.5-year grant to run through June of 2021 to fund a school resource officer position, and it's through the Tobacco Law Enforcement Grant. And the primary focus is eliminating or reducing youth and their use of tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, vaping, that kind of thing. And we will work side by side and collaboratively with the school administrators. We've been doing that all along. I'm happy to have a school resource officer now. It goes well with a program that we started when I first came here called Youth Connect, and getting more engagement with young people in a positive setting to build that relationship with law enforcement and young people, and the object is to keep them out of trouble. I've seen this in Nevada City when I was there, and for the time I was in San Francisco. When you first walked onto the campus in Nevada City, the questions were, why are you here, who's in trouble? And after some time, when the officers were coming onto campus, the questions, they weren't questions, but hi, how you doing, what's going on? So it helps in that kind of relationship, and it builds and keeps, I think, ultimately keeps young people out of trouble. The selection process that Officer Lupien went through was rigorous. She submitted a letter of interest, which included some background and why she's interested in the position. She submitted a resume and then participated in a oral board panel that was staffed by a member of the police department, a parent who also happens to be a city council person, and 2 representatives from the school district. And numerous questions were asked on that. We had 2 candidates, both very well respected and very knowledgeable and engaged in the community in various fashions with young people. And out of that interview, Officer Lupien was selected. So the goal of the program, like I mentioned, is to enhance, initially it's primarily it's to reduce the tobacco use among students to fulfill the requirements of the grant. But self-serving for the police department and for the community is to improve, the student police relationships, and we do that by having the officer become part of the school community and not just a uniform presence on campus. So they'll be active and present in a lot of different functions, football games, parent-teacher conference type setups where the PTA meetings, that kind of thing. So I want the officer to be a regular presence there and a positive influence on all the people that they encounter. The ultimate goal is to keep kids in school. And I think there's always a fear that because you have a police officer on campus that it's going to be strict law enforcement, that kind of thing. And that is not the goal here. The goal is to keep people in school. We work side by side with the school district to that end. And, Officer Lupien is right on board with that. So among her other duties, she will also be providing some educational information to students, act as a counselor and mentor. She'll be liaisoning with a number of community organizations to drive forward the initiatives, primarily around the tobacco for the grant, but also anything else that might come into play. And in the summer, we'll keep her busy too. If there's summer school, she'll be involved in that. And she is also going to be assigned to target other kind of engagement activities that we can do with young people, in the community. So I guess in a primary focus too is not to interfere with the normal function of school administration. So she'll come in like any other officer would be called in, but she'll just be specifically aware of a lot of the nuances with the school and be able to assist if needed. So we don't want this to be something where the officer's a crutch so that everything goes that way. Just goes to the police officer and they deal with it. So, school administrators are going to deal with things like they normally would and only call in a police officer if absolutely necessary. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Officer Stephanie Lupien, your new school resource officer.
Welcome. Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. I just wanted to take a second to introduce myself. Chief Foley gave a lot of the rundown of what my job will entail. As of today, it's been day 4 with the students, and I feel that it's going very well. I think I'm pretty well received. I'm getting a lot of really good feedback from a lot of the students that are not afraid of me, so that's exciting. And kind of just an open door, come see me if you need me, if you are dealing with some problems. I'm an open ear and here to help if needed, and just creating those relationships with the students to feel comfortable if they need, like I said, if they need somebody to talk to or go to. I recently became a mentor to 2 students at the high school that could use some assistance with getting their grades up, so I look forward to providing assistance with that to them and possibly getting more organized or just helping them get on track to graduation. Let's see what else. Like Officer or Chief Foley said, I'm not here to do a lot of discipline. I may sit in on a meeting with a parent purely to provide resources to the parents and the staff should they need. And I'm looking forward to this assignment. I'm really excited, and like I said, it's been well received with the students, and I'm looking forward to creating really strong relationships with them. So.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you around campus. Any questions? Anybody?
I just want to comment that our wellness committee recently prioritized vaping as one of our top priorities in our concerns for student wellness. It's just we realize that it's really important, and it just is a happy coincidence that as soon as we prioritized that issue, you were selected. So I think it's going to be working out really good for our students.
Thank you. Yes, I recently started working with the Up Valley Youth Coalition, and they are a big advocate for the vaping problem, drug and alcohol awareness with youth, and I look forward to working closely with them and providing those educational services to the students and the staff in regards to that matter. So.
Question.
Sure.
Are you gonna will you be working with any of the parents and stuff, or is it strictly more just with the students?
Well, with the, I look forward to working with the parents as well. I know with the Up Valley Youth Coalition, they did mention that there is a need to bring more parents in to educate them on vaping and drug and alcohol awareness. So I look forward to working with them and creating better outlets for the parents and to feel more comfortable with meeting about those topics. So, and whether that's going to those housing communities where a lot of parents reside and being more available to them that way. And then I know at the National Night Out, which is an event that our police department puts on every summer. I look forward to having a booth there that will also provide some educational awareness to parents and students as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for making time, both of you. Yes, please, if you come through, shake your hand, just to welcome you. Even though you're not students, it's not really a rule, but you know. So before I get on to item number C, which is board member report, the trustees might notice a little change up. We've been trying to work through some of our, the idea is now that we're going to have the board member will give their report during this period only. Superintendent will then follow, and then we'll do committee reports later at the end of end of the meeting. So to try to make it so we have somebody in the room. So, Mr. Olguin, please.
All right, I'll try to top those two first presentations with the connection with Mr. Cinto, which I actually met on April 9th. And so when I went to visit him, we talked about the independent study, the study skills, directed study classes, and other services that are being provided at the high school. And he basically shared where they're at now and what they're trying to do for next year. So currently, Mr. Clutie, the resource specialist and teacher. There's Mrs. Ray, who does independent study teacher. Mr. Joy does a speech and language therapist. Mrs. Baker is a district psychologist. The Up Valley Family Center student support service counselors are there, and then all the math teachers are working during the intervention period. So currently, the way it's set up at the high school, it's that they provide all these services at different times, different locations. And so Mr. Cinto, along with other teachers, believe that having a centralized location for all these services would benefit the students and serve the students who most need it. So their goal is to bring all these services under one roof, basically working together. So kind of how the way he described it is kind of a wraparound of services all in one location as a support system. And kind of the three principles that he mentioned that they're looking at or that they're focusing on is providing greater equity, increased communication and collaboration of the student serving adults, so the teachers and staff that are working together, and then closing the skills gap via executive functioning skills-based curriculum and instruction. So starting next year in the summer, they're going to take the old band room, which currently Mr. Farrell teaches in, and he's been gracious enough to give that up to this project. It's basically 2 classrooms, and it has 4 offices in the same space. So they're looking at this as a space that's going to be able to house all these different services. And so as part of the collaboration, the teachers and the students and administrators are going to design this space and try to have it ready for next year. And they're looking at some different designs as far as making it more a future-ready classroom. And so that's going to be driven and based on the needs of the students. So Mr. Shinto is very excited about those changes, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that will look next year. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the report. Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, please. Superintendent report.
Yes, I would like to begin with thanking our entire community. Give Big was again a huge success, and remember that's part of the foundation and the parent groups. They've raised well over $200,000 already, and I believe it's still open, and if someone wants to give big, they can still do so by going online to the Give Big St. Helena. In conjunction with Give Big St. Helena, we conducted Run Big the Friday before spring break, and it was truly a joy to watch our children interacting with each other. And many of our parents participated in volunteering, and many of our employees either ran with the students or participated by working at stations. Our leadership class at the high school really brought their game on. They set up the culminating activity. They had music and DJs, and they were just there everywhere. And at the end of the event, Ms. Brazil, our leadership teacher, said, "What do you need them to do?" And I said, "Clean up." And within seconds, the entire area was clean. So just a huge thank you to our entire school community. Give Big and Run Big continues to be a great success and a lovely collaboration. Wanted to let all of you know that there are 3 more parenting classes this year. April 17th is all about learning disabilities. April 24th is an awareness on anxiety in teens. And May 8th is all about drug trends with teens. The 24th and the 8th are a collaboration with St. Helena Hospital. We had a parenting at the beginning of the year that was in collaboration with St. Helena Hospital on teen depression. And very well attended. They'll have a panel at the end of each of those to answer questions. And I really encourage members of our community to attend any one of those. More information can be found on the district website, and flyers will be going out via Blackboard Connect. And then I just really want to remind everyone that embedded in the board agenda every month is a report from each of our principals. They're telling you what's happening with regards to student success and also professional development. They're also telling you about the students at their school who have been recognized for following the guidelines of the school. And they're also celebrating a volunteer every month. They're letting us know a volunteer that's been involved in their school and what they do, and an opportunity to say thank you to them. So please, all members of the community, take an opportunity to read. Lots of things are happening at our schools.
Thank you very much. We're on to item 7E, which is the annual report from the Measures BC Bond Program Citizens Oversight Committee. Ms. Andy Stubbs, please.
Thank you. And actually, we have Alexandra Haslip, who is here to provide the Citizens Oversight Committee report.
Good evening, Dr. Can you hear me? Good evening, Dr. Wilson, board members, staff, and community at large. My name is Alexandra Haslip, and I am a member of the Citizens Oversight Committee. I've been a member for 3 or 4 years, and I represent the senior members of the community. Our committee is required to meet at least once a year, and we did this on March 27th last month. During that meeting, the committee reviewed all of the expenditures under the Measure B and C program since last year's meeting, and we found them to be compliant with the provisions of the bond. There will be about $760,000 left in the Measure B proceeds at the end of 2018 and 19, and that money has been earmarked for technology infrastructure as equipment replacements are needed. The committee also reviewed the annual bond audit report, which we are required to do on or before March 31st every year, and there were no audit findings for the fiscal year 2017 and 18. As you can see on your agenda, the annual COC report will be presented to you later this evening. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Andy can answer them for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions or comments?
Thank you for your time on the
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. We're on to item number 8A, which is a review of the draft resolution 18-20 interdistrict transfer and study session. Basically a recap on what we did today at from 3 o'clock to 4:30 when we had our attorney with us and all of the administration. So Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, please.
Yes, as a reminder to the governing board and the community, in fact, beginning earlier this school year, I was directed to develop a draft resolution that would account for students who are impacted by a shift in our board policy around at-will employees, specifically avid employees. And in developing that draft resolution, we also were conducting a residency audit. And as we conducted the residency audit and we looked at the avid tutor position, it became clear to me that it was time to ask legal counsel to review our board policies and our administrative regulations to ensure that we were compliant with the law and ed code within the state of California. In doing so, it came to be that we organized a study session this afternoon, and all of the board policies and administrative regulations are attached to this item as well. We spent quite a bit of time this afternoon identifying potential recommended changes from legal counsel, and we received further direction from you as a governing board. Continue to develop that draft resolution around the students impacted by avid tutors. And then there was a second resolution that we were directed to look at. We have a handful of students who are attending our schools on interdistrict transfers because they are a sibling of a district of choice student. And the recommendation is to discontinue that practice effective 1920, and in doing so develop a resolution that will catch those students who are currently within our schools to have them continue. And then the third area was to move. Currently our employees may be on district of choice, they may be on an interdistrict attendance agreement, or they may reside in St. Helena. And the direction is to, at this time, move away from the IDA and adopt the Allen bill, which is a permissive bill that allows employees in the city of St. Helena potentially to attend our schools, and specifically employees of our school district. And so the direction that I received this afternoon was that we would be implementing the Allen bill for employees of our school district only who work more than 10 hours every week of the entire school year. This now is an additional opportunity to have a conversation about all of these items because it's some significant changes, and we wanted the opportunity for our community to be aware and participate if they desire. In order to ensure that the potential impacted families were aware of all of these potential changes. A memo was sent to them last week outlining the study session and tonight's board meeting and the board policies and the administrative regulations that you would be looking at with recommended changes. So tonight it's an information item only, and with further direction I would bring all of this back to you in May as action items.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Mr. Farrell.
Yeah, Brandon Farrell, president of St. Helena Teachers Association. I came to the study session and I didn't speak in public comment during that because I wanted to hear a little bit more about the information that was presented. And I apologize because I'm not going to wordsmith this as well as any of our administrators generally do. So kind of shooting from the hip a little bit. First off, in terms of allowing employees and their children to come in, we really want to appreciate that policy. I think it's important for our teachers and all of our employees, for that matter, to be able to educate our kids in a place where we feel very comfortable to work, and we want to see that obviously continue. I wouldn't be doing my job, I don't think, as SHTA president if I didn't make you aware of differing concerns from our teaching staff regarding a very large policy decision that you are making for a number of different families and things of that nature. We want to recognize that I would agree with you without restating a bunch of the details that the policy was on the unfair side when we changed to a district of choice. What was it, 9 years ago of some sort? And we definitely support a fair system in having students attend our schools. I also want to reiterate, though, with a fair system that has created what looks to be like 3 different resolutions, comes some unfair consequences sometimes for our district administrators and our teachers when students don't choose to take advantage of the resources that we so much enjoy here in our schools. And that creates a lot of work on our end to manage those unfair consequences when students don't choose to take advantage of our system. That being said, we as a teaching staff always have our nose to the grindstone, and we are always teaching kids, and we're always trying to make them improve. And we support all of our students in our classrooms. Finally, there was one question that I wanted to jump in, but it wasn't the right time during the session. There was a question, I think it was from Trustee Pelosi, about what other districts are doing. Maybe it was Ms. Kerr. I don't remember off the top of my head. So I can tell you through some research that I've been doing, all of these student districts are intra-district agreements and mainly have a strict policy around what students come into their districts. And they're Carmel, whoa, gee, mini Christmas. Sorry, Palo Alto, Los Altos, Mountain View, Santa Clara, Pacific Grove, Laguna Beach, Beverly Hills, and Tahoe, Truckee all do inter-district transfers only and do not allow district of choice. So that's all I would like to say.
Thank you very much. Is there any more public comment? Trustees, anything you'd like to add from today's session or like to share at this time?
I'm afraid not, because I feel like my questions were answered in the study session, and that I was able to express, along with the rest of you, where my thought processes were. And Dr. Wilson summarized what we had given direction to do, in my opinion.
Well, I actually would be interested in exploring the idea like Brandon Farrell and Mr. Cinto had talked about. I know you guys said that 9 years ago it was more about the super parent, and what the the lawyer presented was you could have state mandates and some priorities set around that. So and she didn't really specifically mention any of the priorities, so I'd actually be interested to explore and see what those priorities would be like to make it more equitable and fair for everyone. So it's obviously 9 years ago, it was a different format to allow that. So I mean, as far as exploration, And with also possibly being the DOC being taken out in 2023, I mean, I think it'd be, I mean, for me at least, it would be beneficial to at least look at it.
Yeah, and I think that my understanding on it is that under district of choice, we're not allowed to have interdistrict agreements. So it's the either or scenario. And so I think it, and I don't, with the board, how your feeling is, my feeling is we're kind of already 3 steps, we're way into district of choice. And I would like to at least continue that currently in the back of our mind, realize that there might be that solution might come out in 2023 or whenever that, because one of the resolutions that we are adding to is that any student that is currently district of choice, if that program were to go away, then they would be able to remain at our schools until the 12th grade. So we're allowing them to stay in the schools. So that's kind of other trustees' questions or comments to. Because we would have to step away from the district of choice completely if we wanted to go interdistrict agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, and that would be an exploration process that would take staff quite a bit of time, and we would need to really calendar out what that process might look like if we were looking at doing that prior to 2023.
I wonder if maybe for future, every year we approve our caps. Maybe within that, on the district calendar, that we also revisit what's happening in Sacramento regarding district of choice. Maybe use that time of cap approval to also revisit the entire attendance, district of choice, interdistrict transfer, Allen transfers, maybe add that all to that session on the board calendar, governance calendar.
I want to, just Mr. Farrell's was mentioning unfair consequences, and so maybe at some point I would like to understand more what unfair consequences were that they're thinking. The teacher, I believe it was the teachers that might be feeling this way, so that would be of interest to me.
Yeah, me as well.
Right. So obviously this is still info only. Right. So there's no discussion. It's going to come back next month. I'm sure it'll be info action at that time. Right. So you'll be able to find out whatever information you'd like to find out.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
President Conwell, I have one other ad. I'm over here. Where's that voice coming from?
Where are you?
Whether or not we choose district of choice or interdistrict, I just want to make sure that we had conversations about junior and senior year. And after June 30th of a student's sophomore year, or beginning July 1st of their junior year, they're technically our student of resident regardless of their status. So that's based on California Education Code 46600 number 4.
Mm-hmm. Show off.
Thank you for saying that, though. Thank you. That was important. It's important.
So a question is, Maria, I know you had a suggestion, but does the board feel that as well, that you would like to have a recap every year when we do the cap of what the school district is supposed to provide for us in that agenda item? So Trustee Kerr requested something. The question is do we have a majority of the board that would like to have that information at the same time?
And that's what you wanted, an update from Sacramento on where a district of choice stood. I mean, I think that's a good point for board members to know of how it's moving through as we get closer to 2023.
So if I could recap, what I heard would be during the District of Choice CAP report, include District of Choice and any updates, attendance options in reference to Trustee Olguin's request, and then potentially a review of what a unfair consequence might be without naming names. without breaking confidentiality.
Yes, that would be great.
Are you good? I'm not, but I don't really understand what's going on. So I don't understand what you guys want.
And I don't feel like I have it from a majority of the board at this time. So
I'm just, based on that comment that Mr. Farrell made, and it just was vague to me. I don't understand when he was saying that there would be what the unfair consequences are of either district of choice. I want clarification of what an unfair consequence is without breaking confidentiality.
And perhaps I could clarify that just a little bit right now. You'll recall that when Attorney Sukup was talking about district of choice, regardless of the child, what the child brings with them, there's no any child that's on the district of choice list, based on the lottery, based on openings, they are invited into the school district. So whether they are a special needs student, they are a high achieving student, they are a student that struggles with academics, they are a great athlete, they're not a great athlete. Every child is invited and becomes a resident of the district. And so you can imagine that there are times when that creates a challenge for us as a school district. Special needs students come with additional costs, typically more than what we spend on other students. And so those are the kinds of challenges that come with district of choice. So if I could clarify, is there a general consensus that during the District of Choice CAP report, you are interested in hearing more about District of Choice at the state level and attendance options that would be potentially in place instead of District of Choice at some time in the future?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. It just beef up that section on the calendar. Don't create a new one. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because we report every.
I don't know what beef means.
What month is it that it's January or no?
It's December.
We report on different aspects of District of Choice throughout the school year. So Erica and I would look at the governance calendar and identify the best time to provide those updates for you.
Exactly. Just tie it into one of the, not a new section on the calendar.
Understood.
Yes, I'm in agreement with that.
I feel certainly District of Choice, definitely what's going on with District of Choice. I don't know if there's going to be many changes as far as what our options are, though, at this point, because of our District of Choice status. So I'm not sure about that.
Okay, I'm back in. So I don't mind. I think it would be great to have a District of Choice, basically find out what the state's thinking.
Right.
I don't think I wouldn't be under that we need to look at interdistrict agreements because it's all going to happen. They're going to announce it's going to be years, and then we're going to have to figure out the new plan then. I mean, it's not to start thinking about something that's not even a policy that we're not even tracking and we can't do because of District of Choice. Seems like we're asking staff to do something that's not timely. So that would be that's my opinion on it. So I'm happy to have just the update on where District of Choice is in the future and the heaviness, but as far as
well, and I'm thinking. So were you thinking, Trustee Haug, as far as like kind of numbers, as far as like how many do we have in the Allen bill? How many we have District of Choice? How many is
Yeah, that was part of what I was thinking, but I don't know if we can divide that out, or is that too much confidential information? I don't know.
We already report on CAP numbers and enrollment numbers by District of Choice and IDAs on an annual basis, so that's a part of what you already hear. I think what I'm hearing that you're interested in making sure that we bring forward is any action or activity that's occurring at the state level with regards to District of Choice and its longevity or its sunsetting.
exactly.
Yes, I would be happy with that.
Me too.
So are we then at the CAP report to include updates on district of choice?
Yes, on the state level. At the CAP report.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're all good. We're back to 8B. Or we're on to 8B now, I assume. Any other? Nope. Okay. Request for adoption of Resolution 18-24, Staff Appreciation Day. Trustee Howe, will you have a chance when you get your computer booted up?
Again.
While Trustee Haug is logging in, perhaps as superintendent, I could say a great big huge thank you and appreciation to all of our staff members. We have classified and certificated staff. We also have at-will employees that work for us right now, and everyone every day comes to work to ensure that our students receive what they need. Whether it's grounds, making sure that the fields are ready, whether it's the cafeteria creating some really delicious food these days. Our teachers, who, as Brandon mentioned earlier, keep their nose to the ground and are truly working magic with every child. Our administrators, our classified, our secretaries, everyone that we have working in St. Helena Unified are truly committed to our district and to every child every day. And so it's with great appreciation that I ask Trustee Haug to read this resolution.
Thank you. So resolution number 18-24, Staff Appreciation Day 2019. Whereas providing quality education to our young people continues to be our greatest challenge in education as well as our most vital responsibility. And whereas we rely on our teaching and support staff to ensure quality instruction in a wide variety of subjects in and out of the classroom. And whereas in addition to teaching academics, teachers and classified staff members provide guidance, support, and encouragement to the children of St. Helena. And whereas our staff members go far beyond their contractual obligations to support and touch the lives of children. And whereas it is appropriate that we recognize and express appreciation to the employees of the St. Helena Unified School District and acknowledge with gratitude the care and concern they have for our students. And therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the St. Helena Unified School District acknowledges May 7th, 2019 as Staff Appreciation Day. And be it further resolved that the Board extends during this day and throughout the year its sincere appreciation to the instructional and support staff of the St. Helena Unified School District for the extraordinary dedication and professional commitment to the students of the St. Helena community.
Is there anyone who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions?
No questions, but a huge thank you from all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 18-24, Staff Appreciation Day?
I move to adopt Resolution 18-24, Staff Appreciation Day.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are on to item 8C, which is a request to accept gifts, donations, or earmarked funds. Trustee Kerr, would you please recite the wonderfully long list
I would be
tonight?
very happy to. Thank you. The board is asked to accept with gratitude the following donations. St. Helena High School has received the following donations totaling $73,772. $1,000 from the First Presbyterian Church, that's a 2018 scholarship. $1,000 from St. Helena Lodge number 167, 2018 scholarship. $2,200 for the Saints Athletic Association, that's a 2018 scholarship. These next ones are all 2019 scholarships. $1,000 from the Napa County Bar Association, $10,000 from Alice Ria, $1,000 from Athletic Feet Incorporated, $5,000 from Madeline Brazil, $4,000 from the St. Helena Lodge number 167. Thank you very much for those 2019 scholarships with those. There is a donation of $2,500 from B&H YP Enterprises LLC for applied science. $1,000 from Napa Sporting Soccer Club, that's for the athletics. $4,110, which is anonymous, and that's for athletics. $3,131, this from the Saints Athletic Association, that's for baseball. $500 from the Native Sons of Golden West, of baseball. $500, Rosano Properties LLC, that's for the drama. $70, which is unknown, from drama. $500, the Britt George Foundation, that's also for drama. It's for, and those three were from the New York City field trip. $1,000, the Napa County Ag in the Classroom, that's for FFA. Carolyn Martini for the Fishing Club. Alan Galbraith from for the Fishing Club. Roger Trincaro for the $200 for Fishing Club. $200 from Susan Wilms, the Fishing Club. $100 from W. Scott Snowden, that's also for the Fishing Club. $2,300 from Zumwalt Ford, that's for football. $126 from the Rotary Club of St. Helena, and that's for the Interact Club. $177 from the St. Helena Elementary School Parent Teacher Group, and that's the Interact Club, and that was for the movie night help. $1,343 from the Saints Athletic Association, and that's for the softball team. The next donations are for track and field, and it's for track equipment. $83 from Athletic Feet Incorporated. $5,000 from Cliff Bar Family Foundation. $100 from Nicole Landis. $1,000 from Maryvale Vineyards. $510 from Cliff Bar, which is Heather Pina. $1,000 from Christina Herdell. $1,000 from C. Searle. $250 from Patty Tomaso, thank you. $200 from Emily Baker. $1,500 from Mr. Optimus International. $2,000 from Herdell Printing, and $1,500 from Heather Pena. $9,750 from the Saints Athletic Association, and this is for the various sports teams, and that's $750 per team. $5,000 from David Miner for drama and for the New York field trip, and $1,772 from the Sir Optimus International of St. Helena, and that's also for the drama club, for microphones and a sewing machine. Robert Louis Stevenson Middle School received a donation from the Sir Optimus International St. Helena for new wrestling shorts for the 2018-2019 wrestling team, totaling $300. Thank you so very much for always being so generous to our schools.
Thank you very much for reading those. Next time we get a list like that, I'm going to divide it for two.
I was going to say.
About halfway through, I could tell you're like going. Okay, is there a motion to approve these generous gifts tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right. We're on to item number 9A, which is a presentation on the 2018-19 Local Control Accountability Plan monthly update. That sounds like Mr. Heller.
'Tis I. Thank you. All right. While this is booting, I'll try to do a Dr. Wilson fill-in. Oh, there it is. It was quicker. All right. So I continue to search for a slide that will get oohs and ahs like Andy's lock over her money, but this is the best that I could come up with. So I'm still searching. That's my project. All right. So tonight we're going to take a look at the last report of the year on the Local Control Accountability Plan, and just to take a look again at our three goals of engagement, achievement, and conditions of learning. Just to frame that, again, we're in year 2 of a 3-year plan, and we'll be updating the third year plan, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the later slide. Looking back through the year, you could see the different presentations that we've done starting in September, capturing different academic and student support goals that we've had embedded in the Local Control Accountability Plan. And tonight, as we do every April, we take a look at a stakeholder report, which captures some of the feedback and comments that we receive from our stakeholders. And this year it was done in the form of our St. Helena Cafe. And so if you recall, in February we conducted a St. Helena Cafe, and our goal was to have 100 community members, district employees, teachers, students, and the governing board. And we actually met our goal and had a few more than 100, so that was good because we established 100 as our goal, and we had a few more than that. So the purpose was to engage the community in some prompts that we had decided ahead of time and collect some feedback that we did on the form of Post-it notes underneath each question and compiled that information. And if you recall looking at all the different questions and the Post-it notes underneath each of those questions, there was quite a bit of feedback. So my goal tonight was to kind of synthesize some of that and to provide some responses to each of the questions. And so I'll do that, starting with question number 1. What do you appreciate and value most about this school and district, and why? And some of the common themes that I saw in there ran in these 5 bullets. And as I gleaned those out and started thinking about that, in any district USA, I think people would want to see those 5. And the thing that I would say that would make us proud of our district is that shone through in the responses that we got in question 1 is relationships, community support. We just saw the donation list in the previous agenda item, which is amazing, and involvement, small class sizes, extracurriculars, and it's well funded and well maintained. So I think if you went to any school board or any district and said these are the 5 things our community would want to see, and this would be a top priority, I think they would agree. So I'm glad that we have those in place. Question 2 was about an inspiring educational experience, and as you can imagine, with everybody having a different educational experience, it was all over the map. But what I did get in looking at all the responses is that most of the responses had some sort of personal connection where the student at the time felt the teacher had a passion for teaching, that it was not just something they did, but something that they loved to do, and that they motivated and encouraged their students. So those were some of the themes that I saw. That obviously there were other things that came into play, but that would be something that I think we continue to want for all of our adults that work with students, is that passion to work with them, that it's more than a job, and that they find ways to motivate and encourage our students. Question 3, I believe students succeed best when, and you can see the 4 responses that I saw, that they were safe, again, motivation, being involved, and are challenged to excel. And so we kind of start moving into this challenge to excel and then life beyond high school and the preparation that the high school gives. And that was kind of a theme that came out in the next couple of questions, which was question 4, 3 wishes for your student in school, what would they be? Again, there was a lot of different responses, but a couple of the themes that I saw is that they continue the love of learning, that it's not just about the content or what you're learning that particular day, but that you enjoy doing it, that you enjoy the process, that you enjoy coming to school and getting what school has to offer for you. And as a parent, the second one is very important to me, is that they come home happy, that there's a lot of things going on for students socially and emotionally, that every day that you come home that you've had a good experience and you're happy, and that you're engaged on the 3rd bullet, and that's what we want for our instruction and for our student climate on campus, is that they feel a part of their school, and that this is a place they spend 8 to 10 hours a day, and we want to make sure that they feel engaged in there like they do at their home. Question 5 is what students should be capable of upon graduation. And the 3 common answers that I saw were problem solvers, lifelong learners, and skills to operate in society. One of the things that in the LCAP steering committee, Tamara and I were working on this particular question, and the response was that students are able to balance their checkbook. And we use that term like in a sense of that they're able to manage their money, but balance the checkbook is probably kind of an old expression at this point, because I would I would wager that not many of us use a checkbook these days, that we kind of operate with the app on our phone and kind of have a sense of what we're doing, but that our students have some sort of money management skills. So it's just kind of ironic that we say those things, but now we're in the kind of a 21st century model, and that students have a financial sense or financial awareness. So, so that was number 5. And the next steps of this is we're still compiling the executive summary that has all the responses that we will share with you in the form of a written executive summary. We'll continue to evaluate the methods that we used. The LCAP Cafe was something different than we've done in the past with different parent forums. So we're continuing to talk about that as a potential opportunity to either do next year or to do every other year. And then to evaluate these common themes into our revision of the LCAP as it moves into its 3rd year. So instead of questions tonight, because you were there, I thought it might be an opportunity for you just to kind of take a look at those 5 questions and think about the table you sat at and maybe provide any feedback or something that resonated with you from that evening. And if you have questions for me on any of the topics, I'd be happy to take those as well.
Thank you. But first, I'm going to ask if there's any public comment. Nope. Trustees, please.
I'll go. Sure. Well, the turnout was great. I like the fact that I saw a lot of the same parents that I see in all these committee meetings, but I also saw a lot of new faces, which was good. I think it was a good representation of the community. The table that I facilitated were all Spanish-speaking parents, and I appreciated the process that we went through together as a group. At first, they were kind of wondering why the district wanted their opinions and thoughts, because generally in other school systems they allow the district to do what they need to do in education. So here in especially in St. Lena, we try to gather a lot of parent input. So at first they were a little hesitant to share, but once I said, you know, this is part of the process and they're going to look at all this information to make some of those changes, they began to be able to express themselves and share that information. So to me, it was a good way of hearing the voice of parents that maybe we don't generally hear at the committee meetings. And it was a comfortable setting. They were able to speak in Spanish, and I thought it was a good process, and I hope that next year we can get more people there. But overall, I enjoyed being part of it as a parent and as a board member.
Thank you.
I'm happy to go next. So I was at a table. I wasn't a facilitator, but Mrs. Cox was. Miss Cox was. And what I liked about it was I actually wasn't sure what the format was going to be. So when I came in, it was a surprise to me, and I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of people here." You know, I was really happy about that. And I thought that the format was very good. And what I especially liked about it was it got our table. Our table didn't. Many of the people around the table didn't know each other, so it really got all of us talking, and it was nice to hear everyone. You know, certainly the questions were helpful in kind of getting the conversation going, but there was a lot of questions that Ms. Cox would always answer, which was really nice, and it's great to have someone there at the table who can answer those questions too. And so there's just a lot of conversation and not necessarily these questions. So I enjoyed that.
I would say I can say ditto for a lot of the things that both of you said, but I at our particular table, what I liked was it was a mix of people that did not know each other. We had a great student voice at our table, which I thought was tremendous, and I think everybody felt that the student voice was a big benefit. I had alumni who had gone through the school as well, which was great, who are now parents of the district, of course. And I think what I liked was that it gave everybody a chance for their voice to feel heard. And I think that was really powerful, even though maybe it was just the 7 of us at that table, but ultimately their voices are being transcribed onto a document such as you presented. So I thought it was great and was happy with the turnout as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I also was at a really great table. We had probably a majority of our table was Spanish speaking as well, and Tanya was a great facilitator and interpreter. It was a hard job, but she did it wonderfully. It was really what my big takeaway from our table was that all the parents really emphasized and agreed that we came to the conclusion that the parent is the first educator of the child. And that kind of grew up organically at the table. Wasn't directly addressed, but it kind of gave us the perspective, I think, of really looking at how important it is for this engagement of the community, because the parents are the first educators of the child, and the more we engage our parents, the more well-rounded our students will be.
All excellent. Very good comments. I would like to just add upon Trustee Pelosi's. To me, the students were the real shining star at every table that they were at. First of all, of course, the attendance was great to see. But what I loved watching was the students had the ear of every adult at that table. When they opened up their mouth and they said something, it was like, okay, all right, well, that's, I mean, so I think that was a really powerful thing at our table to kind of full circle to bring back the student, even though they probably didn't feel they were probably intimidated and all this other stuff, but they actually carried an incredible amount of weight at that study session. So, and I liked the format. I think it's definitely a novel thing, and there were new people, a lot of people that we always see, which is wonderful. But it's always best when we can get more, of a different look and more people. So I think it was a very positive thing.
Thank you to all of you. Would like to also remind you that the LCAP Steering Committee, which is open to any members of the public, by way of reaching out to Erica Madrigal, also listens to the voices of students. We conducted a listening of voices of our middle school students, and we had 7 or 8 students, and then also our high school students this year. And it's a much smaller setting. We do have questions that we ask them, and it's so enlightening and so exciting because they are very candid, very respectful, and very appreciative of our school system. So the student voice is very powerful in St. Helena.
President Conwell, if I could just add one more thing about the student voice is, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went to leadership and kind of solicited their input into the LCAP. And one of the things they talked about was the difficulty that student athletes or others have after school that have other commitments in accessing math tutorial. And I shared that information with Principal Cinto, and he immediately found a way to offer 3 days a week in the morning to offer morning math tutorial like there used to be in the past. 5 days? Okay, I thought it was 3, so it's 5. And so, that speaks to the students providing and having adults that listen, and that creates results. And so that's what the whole design of the LCAP is to provide for our students the things that they need to access the education in the way that they need to. So I'm happy that we were able to do that, and that was a quick fix that we didn't even have to write in the LCAP. That's just something that we can do this year. So I just wanted to add that note.
And that's a shout out to our math teachers and our English teachers, because both tutorial for additional math and now English as well. Correct, Mr. Cinto? Yes.
Great news. We're on to item number 9B, which is a presentation of the Robert Louis Stevenson English Language Learner Progress. Ms. Corinne Cox, please. Oh,
let me click it.
The clicker.
Good evening. I'm here today to report, give you an update on what's happening with our English Learner Program at the middle school. I don't have a beautiful picture, but I do have a nice color. I just want to point that out. I wanted to start by providing just a general overview of what our population of LEP or Limited English Proficient students looks like at RLS. At our site, we have 46 of our students who are Limited English Proficient. Of those 46 students, 35% of them are in special education, and 13% of them have been in the U.S. for less than 3 years. So
pretty close to half of the kids either are special education students or really are brand new to the country. And then I compared that to the students that we have at our school who have been reclassified through our system, meaning that they are now considered to be fluent English speakers. And of those 61, we have 61 reclassified students at RLS, and only 2 of them, or 3%, are in special education, and none of them have been here less than 4 years. Some other information that I wanted to provide is that 52% of our language learners' students' parents did not graduate from high school. And then 38%, in comparison, 38% of reclassified students' parents did not graduate from high school. And 11% of English-only Hispanic students did not graduate from high school. And I put this in just so that you can have some idea of what the data shows about the importance of parent education in terms of students becoming reclassified. And what that tells us is that socioeconomic factors like parent education matter. It's really important. It doesn't mean that, that they are not going to reclassify, because yes, they can reclassify, of course. It means that students with more risk factors will need additional intensive support so that they can be reclassified. It's a tougher road in many cases, and it requires a lot of commitment from our school system, from their parents, from our teachers. And the English Learners Roadmap provides guidance to help us honor equity and diversity and ensure meaningful access to the curriculum for all students. So we are doing the things that we think will be most effective in helping kids become reclassified. And we want to know, well, is it working? Is that actually happening? As I've mentioned in prior presentations, we've tried some new things at RLS. The board enabled us to hire a teacher who's dedicated to doing support for language learners. And one of the things that we know is that a major barrier to reclassification and academic success is students who have low reading skills. A lot of the reason it makes it difficult to reclassify is that you have to score pretty close to MET grade level on the CASP. The CASP is a very challenging test in the first place, and it is highly language heavy. There is a ton of reading in, not just in the English section of the CASP, but also in the math section. In addition to there being a lot of reading, there is a lot of writing and a lot of using academic language. So when we took tests in school, you might just have a math problem, 17 times 23 equals, and then you had 4 choices and you picked one. And now that you have to explain your thinking, you may have to draw a model, you may have to use academic words to say why you think your answer is correct, and you have to do it in a specific claim evidence manner, which is really challenging for people who, for example, have been here for 18 months. So one of our big focuses is how can we help students improve their reading skills when they don't necessarily have a home that is filled with books and that is extremely literate environment. And you were just saying parents are their children's first teachers. And so if parents aren't able to provide that kind of academic support, we need to do more. And so expected reading level or lexile growth for a whole year is about 40 points. And that translates to about 26 points after the second trimester. Right now, we're doing intensive research-based supports that the teacher that the board allowed us to hire is providing, and we have discovered that yeah, it's working. At the end of the second trimester, when average growth of all kids, not language learners, but all kids is 26 points, the growth of the RLS students who are in our language development program was over 100 points, which is huge for these kids. Both of us wanted to cry. We were so excited. And I wanted to give specific examples. Each of those is a separate student. Some students are only in the language learner program, the ELD program, and there's some numbers of how high they went up in 6 months. how many points they went up. That last student, 337 points, is years of growth. And then some of our students have ELD, and they, in addition, they're in a Read 180 class, and there's some numbers of what those kids were able to achieve when they got that kind of intensive one-on-one research-based support. And I just want to take a moment to share that Dana Simon, who is our ELD teacher and is also doing Read 180, has been an English teacher in our district for many years. She's always been an excellent teacher. She's very concerned about language learners, but she has come to me time after time this year to tell me how even after all the focus that she's put, she had no idea how little some students really understood about what was going on until she had the opportunity to sit with them essentially almost one-on-one, using a program at their level that allows them to really develop their academic language. And she has just been shocked and horrified to think that she didn't realize, even after all the training that we've had, to see it in your face is just, yeah, but now that we know. So moving forward, we're going to continue focusing on additional West Ed training in the ELA-ELD framework for both English and science teachers. They've had one training day, and then they have each of them have another one coming up next year where they'll be working with Jen Blitz. Additionally, there's a new assessment that I know Mary Allen has reported on, which is the CSA, and we're using that to determine native language literacy, which is incredibly helpful because students who are literate in their native language are at a completely different place in terms of what they need educationally than students who are also illiterate in their native language. We're going to continue with 3 ELD classes. And we are using a research-based language acquisition curriculum called English 3D, which has been incredibly helpful. Dana's had a trainer who's come in and has worked with her and is stunned at the results we're getting also. Continuing the Read 180 support classes, providing parent support because parents are so important in this through ELAC and through the multiple parent education trainings that have been happening throughout the district. And there we go. Core teachers are also getting help from Ms. Simon in modifying to help individual language learners access the curriculum. So she's offering specific suggestions for specific kids. Focusing in all languages, in all classes on equitable production of oral academic language. And that's a lot of What I mean by that is that you don't just say, who knows the answer, and wait for the kid who knows the answer to raise their hand. It's really an opportunity for helping teachers learn how they can make kids be in a situation where they are forced to produce the language. So giving them support, scaffolding, there might be 6 words on the board, academic words. Talk to your neighbor starting with and then beginning with a sentence frame, or make sure that you include these words in your conversation with your partner so that they can't just duck into a corner and hide, which some kids are really good at and will do if they can. We also have a new curriculum in history, social studies, and upcoming in science as well. Both of those will include targeted strategies to support language learners as all new curriculum does. And then we continue to offer lots of different opportunities for individualized support of kids, including access. Many teachers provide lunchtime tutoring. We have after-school homework help that's offered in both math and English. And we have parent-teacher conferences that with translation that we hold for both students who are struggling and students who are not struggling, just so that we can connect with families. Questions?
First of all, any public comment? Trustees?
Well, I will say that I got a little teary reading the report as well, because that was pretty impressive.
Seriously.
Yeah, it was great. And I just say kudos to you and the staff and Ms. Simon. That is awesome work. I just wanted one clarifying question from my brain as I was reading that. Is LEP and ELD interchangeable? They are the same things?
Yeah, so LEP,
Okay.
limited English proficient. Sometimes they use that, and English language development, or ELL, English language learner.
Right.
They kind of, they're interchangeable.
Okay, just wanted to make, it was like another acronym I had
I've
not
always
met.
used them kind of all interchangeably, yes.
Okay, just wanted
Good
to
question.
clarify that. Thank
There's
you.
a lot of acronyms.
I know. I was like, okay, I don't know that one. So.
3 for the price of 1. Lucky you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I just wanted to comment, as well as Trustee Pelosi mentioned, the numbers are very impressive, and so I'm happy that the support service teacher is having such an impact for those students. Actually, at the CSBA that I went to this past December, I went to the roadmap conference, and they had districts that were basically implementing the roadmap at the school level. And something that stuck with me was one of the teachers said that the English language learners, it wasn't the responsibility of one teacher or 2 teachers, but the responsibility of all teachers. So I want to commend your staff for you guys embracing that and, making sure that all the teachers are looking out for those students, but as well as the other students. So I just wanted to
definitely
mention
putting
that.
in the hard work
Yeah.
every single day.
Appreciate
so
it.
thank you for recognizing that. Thanks. Does somebody need this back, or?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're on to item 9C, which is a report on the summer offering of 2019. And Ms. Mary Ellen, please.
Good evening, Mary Ellen, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. I just wanted to say, when you were reading all of those gifts, I thought, I wish I was in a fishing club in high school. I thought, oh my God, that would have been great. Anyway, moving on. Summer school. I can't believe we're there already, but I'd like to go over briefly just our summer school offerings, because we do have some new additions this year, which I'm really excited about. But the main purpose of our summer school is to provide academic enrichment and certainly skill building. So our summer school offerings at the primary school will be the Early Back program. That'll be happening in late July, early August. At the elementary school, we will have the intervention, summer intervention. That'll be for 4 hours, 2 hours of English, 2 hours of math every day for 8 days. At Robert Louis Stevenson, we're going to have our ELD program, which is English Language Development, as we were talking about. The difference between ELD is that's the program, ELL is the student. So, just so you know. And then for St. Alida High School, we have a new addition, which I'm thrilled with Brandon, Ben, and Chris and I talking about, and all the other math teachers. We have St. Helena Freshman Core, which is going to be for incoming 9th graders from our outlying districts. We have a 2-week program scheduled, depending on if we have actual enrollment from the outlying school districts. 1 week will be English, 1 week math. And basically what it is just a little bit of a ramp up, bless you, a little bit of a ramp up to high school, also getting acquainted with the requirements, the expectations, making them feel very comfortable being on our campus and feeling comfortable coming in to 9th grade for math and English. Oftentimes that's probably the scarier time for the kids coming in from the outlying districts. So we're real excited about that. So hope we get the kids from the outlying districts. And they're excited as well. The superintendents are excited for that, and we will know soon. Another program that we're doing, which is different, is Ben realizes, Brandon, Madison, everybody realizes at the high school level that what we've been doing for math has not been working for our students that are struggling in Integrated 1. So we're changing it around this year. And what it's going to be called, it's going to be Integrated 1 and Math Improvement. It's not an Apex course for our Integrated 1. They are not online. Kids that are struggling in math are going to struggle even more so with an online program. So this particular program is called Seat Time. You're actually in the classroom with the teacher teaching, but it's different because they're not having to make up all the hours of an actual math class. What the teachers are going to do, or the particular teacher that takes this position, is going to look at the finals, and then based on the final results that they had, if they were below an 80, they would be recommended for this integrated 1 to improve their scores of a D or an F, and all they need to do is just come in, get the instruction, fill in those gaps where they didn't fit in reference to the final, and take the final again, and if they get 80% or higher, that will change their final grade. And so they could do this in a week, they could do this in 2 weeks, they could do this in 3 weeks, however long. That's an incentive for them to really work on those skills with the teacher. And so they're coming every day for 4 days a week, and this is a 4-week program, and we're hoping that this is going to be a success for them. For students that are in integrated 2 and integrated 3 and received a D or F and want to improve their grade, they can come 3 days a week. They will be on the Apex program. They will be with that teacher to where they can come in and get some extra support and help, but they'll actually be working through the online program for integrated 2 and 3. So super excited about that. Credit recovery will still be the same that we have for history and English. Speed strength training is going to be the same. Special ed is the same. With our STEM programs, this will be the second year that we're going to do summer enrichment with STEM, and we're partnering with the St. Helena Parks and Rec. So we're not using a company outside of the community. We're actually working with them. They've done a nice job with our enrichment programs this year, and they're willing and wanting to do the summer school STEM enrichment programs. So we'll have rockets and rovers for one of our camps, week-long camps, and then we'll have coding drones for another week-long camp. It'll be for incoming 3rd graders to outgoing 5th graders at the elementary school. And lastly, working with Andy and Angela from the food service, we're excited about this. We've always provided snacks during summer school, but now we're actually doing a summer, and I saw it right here, Andy, it's called a Seamless Summer Program. So what this means is that during the summertime, for any summer school program, we're providing food. We're providing a breakfast program for them, as well as with following the federal guidelines for the seamless summer, we're going to be feeding anybody 0 to 18 who needs it within the community and would like it. We'll be having the food service at the cafeteria downstairs, and also provided at the public library during the, I saw it somewhere, Andy, where it was during the children's summer reading program at the public library. And this will be held for the whole time while we have summer school. Anybody can come under the age of 18 to get a breakfast. Andy, would you like to add anything on? Did I miss anything related to that?
No, I think that captures it. And so we have always provided some food for our summer school programs, and then this year we're formalizing it within the federal and the state programs. So it's super exciting because then we can expand it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, questions or comments?
I have one question, please. On the integrated math, 1 math improvement, does there need to be a minimum number for that to go forward?
For the students?
Yeah, like an enrollment. I mean, does there have to be 10 or more? I saw some of them had other, requirements of minimum, but I just was curious. I mean, if there's 3 people, it still goes forward.
My understanding is yes. We didn't put a limit on that.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then I also just want to make a comment, and just to show how this all threads through with everything we've been talking about. From the LCAP meetings that we had with the students there, the particular group with the high school panel that we had, and some of those kids had come from outlying areas. And when the question was, what was something that was more of a challenge than you anticipated, it was how things were done differently at their school and how they wish they would have had this experience before coming in. So it's all tied together. It's very nice. Well done. Yeah. But I mean, it made me immediately think of that, because that was a direct comment that we heard from a couple of the students. And now look, here it is. So well done. Thank you.
We're excited about it.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're on to item number 10, Human Resources. Consideration of approval for CSEA number 287, Collective Bargaining Sunshine proposal to St. Helena Unified School District. And that is going to be Chris Heller, I believe.
Yes, it is. Thank you. The governing board will recall that in February, the district presented our Sunshine proposal to CSEA for public comment, and that was approved in the last meeting in March. This is the proposal from CSEA to the district, and if approved tonight, negotiations can begin shortly thereafter. I think we have them scheduled here at the later part of April and early part of May. So I ask for your consideration for approval this evening. They only need one reading versus ours, which requires two, just as a note.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the Sunshine proposal from CSEA number 287 to St. Helena Unified School District?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. We are on to approval of a revised job description, payroll and benefits technician. Miss Andy Stubbs, please.
Thank you. And actually, the next two items have to do with job descriptions for our two confidential positions that we have. This first one is the payroll and benefits technician, and what we've done is conducted an analysis of both of these job descriptions and identified some needed updates, and part of those updates include some cross-training. We've been doing a lot of work with regard to cross-training in the district over the past couple of years to ensure that we can run our operations smoothly and efficiently at all times, and so we've definitely identified some components there with regard to the payroll and benefits technician. And so if we cursor down through the exhibit, we'll come to a few highlighted items at the end on the last page. And these are some tasks that we've identified within our accounting technician senior position that would be very appropriate for our payroll and benefits technician to cross-train in to build capacity. And so along with that additional duty, we would be increasing the compensation as well. And so that would come back to the board by way of a revised confidential salary schedule, which will be after the two job description items. And so with that, I would ask the board to consider approval of the revised job description for the payroll and benefits technician position.
Is there any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the revised job description payroll? Payroll and benefits technician.
I move to approve the revised job description for the payroll and benefits technician.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're on to 10C, approval of revised job description, accounting technician senior.
Thank you. And for this position as well, if we go to the very last page, you can see several tasks that we've identified from the payroll and benefits technician position that we feel would be very appropriate to train, cross-train with our senior accounting technician position. And then this would require also that this position remain in the confidential ranks. And so because of the additional duties, we would recommend a compensation increase for this one as well. And so we would recommend that the board consider approving this job description.
Is there any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the job description, accounting technician senior, as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're on to approval of revised salary schedule for confidential employees. Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. And this is a revised salary schedule for confidential employees, and it removes several of the grades that we had previously, and it just retains the two grades that are associated with the two positions that we just discussed. And so they've been calibrated to reflect a small increase that's commensurate with the additional cross-training work that they would do, and that cost increase amounts to approximately $2,126 in the current year, because this will be paid retroactive to July 1st, 2018, because the cross-training will begin in current year. And that $2,000 includes statutory benefits as well as salary. And then beginning in 2019-20, the increase there would be approximately $5,692. And that reflects the increase that we've talked about with regard to those two job description changes. And so I'd recommend that the board approve the revised confidential salary schedule, which will be retroactive to July 1st, 2018.
Is there any public comment? Trustees? Is there a motion to approve the revised salary schedule for confidential employees?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. We're on to item 11, which is consent agenda. Is there any items that the trustees wish to pull off the consent agenda? Okay. No. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda tonight? Yes.
I don't know, really. I have a comment that our teachers would like to express their gratitude to Horacio and how well he has been received in our entire school district in terms of IT. And we really appreciate his leadership and his efforts to help each one of our teachers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Appreciate that.
Trustees, any comments or questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. We're on to item 12A, which is approval of the 2018 Measure B and C bond audit reports.
Thank you. And for this item, the board is asked to consider approval of our Measure B and Measure C bond audits for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, and I'm pleased to report that we had no findings.
Nice.
The old no findings, no questions. Anybody have anything out there? Exactly. There we go. There we go. A little stand up and a bow. I love it. Trustees, any questions?
Not at all. No.
I always go to that last
Congratulations.
page and
I know.
like look at it. It's
exactly. That's where we start.
Like, yay, Andy.
That's exactly where I start.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the 2018 Measure BC audit bond audit reports?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Item 12B, consider approval of a $215,000 budget for Fund 14 deferred maintenance for interior painting of St. Helena Elementary School, RLS, and High School to occur over the summer of 2019. Ms. Sandy Stubbs.
Thank you. We've identified several classrooms and learning spaces across the district that need some interior painting this summer. Joe Perez, our Director of Facilities and Aquatics, met with our principals and came up with a list. And then Greystone West, our project consultants, have been assisting us with the scope and budget for this work. And then the Facilities Committee gave us consensus support for the project with a budget of about $215,000. And we would use deferred maintenance funding for that. And so I would like to ask the board to consider approval of a $215,000 budget for interior painting this summer.
Any public comment? Trustees? Is there a motion to approve a budget of $215,000 in Fund 14 for interior painting of St. Helena Elementary School, RLS, and High School as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're on to 12C, which is a 2019 draft budget assumptions. This is the third board review, and it is a written report. So is there any public comment on this report? Trustees, any questions or comments on this report? Excellent, thank you. And we're on to 12D, which is a request for approval of contracts over $25,000.
Thank you. And these all have to do with facilities this go around. We've got 4 for the board to consider approving. The first is with Beam Professionals. We've identified that we're going to need to do a roof replacement project here on Vintage Hall. And so we reviewed the scope with the Facilities Committee and gave them some different roofing options, and they made a recommendation. And so the next step would be for the board to approve a contract with Beam Professionals, who will help us with the scope and the budget. But the board will still be approving the overall project scope and budget when we get to that stage. But we need to contract with Beam first to help us get there. And then the next contract is with Bell Products, and this is for some duct work at the high school to help us eliminate some roof leaks that we've had that are persistent that have to do with the duct work. And this was not included in the original scope of work a couple of years ago when we did an RLS and high school roof renovation project. And this went before the Facilities Committee also, and they provided consensus support. And then the third would be for the roof rafter repair work that the board actually approved about a year ago. But with change in personnel and so forth, it's taken us a little bit of time to get out there and get some good quotes for the work. And I'm pleased to say that that's coming in under budget. And then the fourth would be with Consolidated Networks Corporation. And we've been doing some gradual speaker wiring replacements at RLS so that classrooms and the students and staff can hear the intercom. And the wiring out there is very outdated, and it wasn't included in the large infrastructure project that we did a couple of years ago. And so for this project, we can use some of our Measure B and Measure C bond proceeds that we have left. And so with that, I would recommend that the board approve all four of these contracts over $25,000.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on these four contracts? Trustees, questions or comments on the contracts?
I have a quick question. So for the beam professionals, it's just the beginning of the roof repairs and things that we spoke about in the the facilities committee. Is that correct?
Yes, they'll help us to develop a more comprehensive scope and budget for the whole project.
Okay. Thanks.
But Andy, they're not like project managers. They don't stay on board to oversee completion of the roof, or they do?
Well, actually, we will be able to utilize them for that also. We won't need to use Greystone West for this project, but beam professionals will be on hand to assist district staff in monitoring the replacement of the roof. That would be included within the $36,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are on to approval of the annual report from the Measure BC Bond Program Citizens Oversight Committee, COC. Ms. Andy Stubbs.
Thank you, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our current COC members, Alexandra Haslip, who you met earlier this evening that presented the report during the presentation, and then John Collins, David DeSanti, and Jillian Casey, all great members. And with that, I would ask that the board approve the annual Citizens Oversight report.
Any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the annual report from the Measure BC Bond Program Citizens Oversight Committee, COC?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to 12F, update in the St. Helena Unified School District Information Technology IT Program 2019. Ms. Andy Stubbs again, please.
Thank you. This is our annual technology update for the year. And so our last couple of presentations, we have framed them around the structure of the Future Ready Schools initiative and address things through their gears or their categories. And so those are the four categories that we'll be talking about in this year's presentation. With regard to curriculum and instruction and assessment, 4 of the members of the St. Helena Unified School District Technology Committee went to the Future Ready Schools California workshop back in December, and we learned a lot about how we can use the Future Ready Schools tools and resources to begin rewriting our technology plan next year in conjunction with the LCAP. So that was really exciting work. And then we went back and presented it to the Technology Committee, and then that presentation is in the board agenda also for your review. With regard to the use of space and time, some time ago the board directed staff to ensure that while we were looking at our facilities and making sure that we were keeping them well maintained and updated, it was really important that we look at the physical spaces in the classrooms and make sure that they are redesigned in such a way that supports student learning and engagement. And so out of that board direction, the ILET program was born, and so this was a 2-year pilot program in which we purchased flexible furniture and technology tools. I remember we all had fun using the virtual reality Google goggles about a year ago. And so we've learned a lot from that project, and then during the second interim report in March, the board approved an above-the-line amount of $150,000 a year to support our ongoing Future Ready Classrooms program. And so what we've done is we've taken what we've learned from ILEP and some additional outside resources, and then developed kind of a more collaborative process that we've been engaging in with teachers. And so we start with our first implementation group, which was the English language teachers and the student support teachers at the high school. And we've already had 2 collaboration sessions with them. And they dug deep into a book called The Space, A Guide for Educators, and each of you has a copy. And with that work, we started to look at spaces to collaborate, spaces to showcase learning, spaces to create, and spaces for quiet. And so it really has provided these first implementers with ways to think about redesigning their rooms to really support best practices in teaching. A really critical component of this work we're learning is, and we heard a little bit of this earlier this evening as we were talking about the value of student input, is including students as co-designers. And so the teachers that are participating in this first implementation group have to identify how they're going to deeply include students as co-designers in this process. And then they're going to have to include a report about that in their proposals, which you'll see in May. With regard to personalized professional learning, we've done a lot this year to support our both our certificated and classified staff through the use of Kite, which is an online personalized professional learning platform. And to date, we've had folks earn 432 different badges in different courses, and you can see the most popular courses there on the table. And then it's always important this time of year to begin looking at budget and resources. And so this table here, which has quite a bit of words on it, depicts our overall technology budget in our general fund. And so you can see that we have a multi-year projection for our device refresh and for the Future Ready Classrooms project that we talked about, for infrastructure. This year I'm also including telecommunications in this group, and my goal is to look at our coding structure also and ensure that we're pulling absolutely everything in that has to do with technology, infrastructure, telecommunications, ed tech, under one account code structure, so that it'll be easy for us in future years to really track these expenditures and generate reports and such around how we're spending our dollars here. And so you'll see these figures built into the 2019-20 budget and multi-year projection in April, and then for consideration of board approval in June. We still have an allocation, as we mentioned earlier this evening, in Fund 21, which houses our proceeds from the Measure B and Measure C bond program. And we've spent all of Measure C. We just have some Measure B dollars left. And we can use some of those dollars for any part of the Future Ready Classrooms work that has to do with infrastructure. And so, for example, last year when we added the Promethean screens at RLS, we were able to assign some of those to this allocation here. So of that $150,000 that we have budgeted in the general fund, if our implementation groups identify things that can be assigned appropriately to the bond, then we would shift those expenses. And then while we spent over $7 million on an overall infrastructure project across the district, we'll still always have some equipment replacement needs in subsequent years, for example, wireless access points, and so we have to have a little bit of an allocation to help us with that. And then this provides you with a little bit of a timeline for some next steps. And so our Curriculum, Technology, and Innovation Committee will be meeting on April 23rd, and they are going to hear information about our student device refresh program. We're looking at 9th grade laptops for next year, and then also iPads for our first and second grade students. We're really trying to move towards kind of a grade level at a time refresh, and so providing new devices for the incoming Ks, the incoming third graders, incoming sixth graders, and incoming ninth graders. And that helps us to manage budget a little bit better in the out years rather than doing an entire school all at once. And then with regard to teacher devices, what we're doing is replacing those as needed and then building in a budget in each year, which lives in that the top line item there, replacing those as needed, because while the useful life of devices is very short, as you all know, in many cases some of these devices can last several years, so we don't want to replace them if we don't have to. And then also the CTI committee will give us some feedback on the Future Ready Classrooms proposals, and in the board packet you can see the proposal template that our implementation group will be using, and then all those items will come to the board for consideration of approval on May 10th. And so with that, I would ask if the board had any questions, and we're definitely going to, as an IT team, I know that I'm speaking for our team when I say that we're going to miss Horacio very much. I don't think we're going to redo that picture for a while.
Oh, very nice. Is there any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments?
I just appreciate all the thorough information. I mean, I know it's action-packed in there, but that was great. And I appreciate the detail and all the dollars attached to it as well. And you're very efficient with your spending, and then that, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the shift from instead of a school doing whatever their computing is, of the entry level. I like that idea. That makes a lot of sense to me. That way we've got new devices when we need them. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very wise transition. So thank you for thinking about everything.
President Conwell, if I might,
please.
Just wanted to comment on the distance that we've come in the last 5 years with regards to technology and our infrastructure, and remind all of you that it was rare that when we pushed the button that actually came on 5 years ago, and that is in large part because of our tech team, the bond dollars that provided the new infrastructure, and the consistent work of everyone in our district. And all of us are sad to see Horacio leave us. Every time there's a storm, there's a little blip, and our network operations center says that has a hiccup. Horacio's in the car and on his way, and he's always making sure that when we press the button for our students that the computers come on. And so a huge thank you, Horacio. You are going to be missed, and we thank you for everything that you've done for our district these last few years.
Thank you.
We're on to item number 13, when communications, superintendent subcommittee reports, LCAP steering committee, Julio and Lisa.
Julio's going to get us started.
I'll keep it short and brief since we already talked about the LCAP. Let's see, we reviewed the middle school, high school student panels again, and the consensus was pretty clear with the group that our students are great, and it's probably one of the best portions of the LCAP. No offense to the other meetings, but those are the funnest ones to be at. And then we had time to look at a lot of the input that was brought in from the cafe. So we were put into groups, and we basically had all the responses, and in groups of like 2 or 3 people, we had to kind of categorize each one into, I think there was like 18 different themes, and it was interesting to read a lot of the responses on some of those questions, but some of the themes include like lifelong learners, or they could be related to personalized learning, school culture, social emotional well-being. So it was quite a task to kind of go through each individual one and try to find one that fit exactly. But we gave all that information to Babs, who now is in charge of she's gonna basically put a more concise summary so that we can present to the community and to the board. So. And last, I think we just shared more about the reflections of the cafe, which we already kind of mentioned earlier. So,
I think it's just important to note that Babs Kavanaugh, she literally took every one of those Post-it notes and gave it a line on sheets. So when we broke up into teams, we had documents that were 7 pages. It could have been, 5 pages front and back. And then we broke up. But so just so you know that all those responses that were given at your tables did get recorded. And so it was a really impressive task. And then, as Julio said, we had the individual groups of ranking them how they fit into themes of our mission and vision.
Correct. And if I could just add on to that, a subcommittee was formed consisting of Babs Kavanaugh, our consultant, myself, Tanya Pearson, and Ben Cinto. And we have met once to take a look at the big ideas. And we have in the works a draft updated vision and mission statement that's working between the 4 of us right now. And we'll be very excited to present you with information at the May board meeting.
Thank you. Board Policy Committee met Monday, March 25th. This was basically in preparation for our attorney that came for and allowed us to go over all the revised policies, ARs, board policies, and allowed the group to basically flush it out. And so it was a very effective meeting and able to move. So we were able to get a very good thing happening earlier today. So that's what the board policy focused on, that just those policies itself. Next is Preschool for All.
So prior to spring break, we presented our business plan for our big donor, which is the Roger Trincarroll Family Foundation, and it was a wonderful way for us as a board, as directors, to kind of see where we're at and where we want to go. And much like Babs is to our district as far as a consulting, we have hired a consultant who is fabulous just an expert in early childhood education. She's ran nonprofits. She has started preschools. She's done a whole gambit of things through her career. And she, in working with her, our board has learned how we can broaden our scope as far as what we can offer to our students, our preschool students, and to their families. So we're super excited about that. We presented our business plan, and it went very well. They were very, very pleased. We were very fortunate to have 2 of our St. Helena Preschool for All parents come and talk about the Preschool for All program, and they brought their children, so you know always how that ends up as we talk about students. So they're very happy with the direction that we're going. On Monday we had our monthly meeting, and that meeting was basically talking about how we're going to start implementing the things that we want to do with our little program that is expanding right now. So everything is going very well. Very well.
Great. Excellent report. Last we've got is wellness. Ms. Stubbs, will you report on that for us, please?
Our wellness committee meeting met just the other night, a Wednesday night, and we were able to introduce to that committee also Officer Lupian, which was great. She gave a presentation to the committee about what she'll be doing with the students, and the board got to hear some of that. We also reviewed a draft of the annual wellness progress report that's going to come to the board in June. And we've accomplished quite a bit there, I think, over the past year, including adding many new menu items, and we got to sample the strawberry turkey wrap the other night, and that was very popular. I didn't have any left at the end of the day. And so kudos to Angela and her team for all those new additions. And then another big focus of our wellness committee this year has been for members to participate in some of our many student wellness related events. And so, for example, they attended, we had 2 participants who attended the student wellness committee, the student wellness fair in March in Napa. And so we heard some reports from one of our teachers and also one of our committee members. And so that was interesting, and it helps us to think outside the box in terms of new wellness goals for next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're on 13B, St. Helena Teachers Association, SHTA, Mr. Brandon Farrell.
We're very proud of our 2 members that were part-time that are now been moved to full-time. Very excited about that. We are also at the high school, and I think she spent some time at the middle school as well, Officer Lupian, right? I even saw her at the primary school, so I threatened my youngest daughter a little bit as well.
Things are going to improve.
That's right, exactly. But at the high school especially, we're, at the middle school, our teachers are concerned about our student activities around tobacco use, and I think this will enhance all of that. And so I'm excited about how that's going to fit into with our teaching staff, and that's it.
Thank you very much. And there's a written report, I believe, from the California School Employees Association, number 287.
Yes, they did ask for me to share with you that CSEA would like to share with the board and the community that Mrs. Lisa Montelli, who is the library media tech at the primary school, is being recognized for her dedication and hard work for Chapter 287, St. Helena, at the North Bay Field Office Annual Recognition Awards Celebration and Picnic on Saturday, May 4th in Santa Rosa. It's a luncheon and ceremony, and anyone is welcome to join. It's on the screen right now. If you'd like to participate, CSEA would love to have you. And congratulations again to Mrs. Montelli.
Yeah, fantastic. And the rest of written reports, that takes us down to item number 14, future agenda items. Trustees, anything you would like to add to our list?
No, thank you.
Okay. We are on to item number 15, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
No. Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Signatures.
We adjourned at 8:06. Dang, we adjourned at 8:06. 8:06.